Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in musical hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and fallen angel of music. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that Phantom of the Opera is successful. It's celebrating its 25th anniversary on Broadway this month and has amassed a worldwide gross somewhere north of $5.5 billion. That makes James Cameron look like Roger Corman. With those numbers, a film version of the musical was inevitable, and given the broad appeal of Andrew Lloyd Webber's lush score and the Beauty and the Beast Gone Bad story, you'd think it would be equally well received. In fact, pretty much the only way you could screw it up is by hiring a director whose ham-handed misguidance had already driven one successful franchise right into the ground. Oh, crap. Yes, Joel Schumacher, the man behind the Bat Nipples. A man whose only other contribution to the musical genre was writing the screenplay for the appalling film adaptation of The Wiz. Call me crazy, but I don't look at these credentials and think, yes, this is the perfect man to direct a pop opera about a psychologically damaged man in a mask and a cape. Obviously Lloyd Webber thought that, though, because here we are. Let's examine the case of the Phantom of the Opera. The movie begins with a stylized prologue during which our hero, older and embittered by loss, looks back on the great romance of his life.
And then one day...
Whoops, my mistake. That was the good Victorian musical melodrama that came out about this time. Ah, here we are. The aged Raoul de Chauny is attending a public auction at the Opera House, where many significant glances are exchanged and many significant props are introduced, including a cymbal monkey and a chandelier that causes dramatic wind and flashbacks. The sequence is obviously a souped-up version of the prologue and overture from the stage production, and while it is kind of neat, it does indicate how little imagination went into this movie. The story proper takes place in late 1870, and despite the fact that there's a siege on and people are eating rats and house pets in order to survive, it's a lovely day for a dress rehearsal, and a fine time for the opera to meet its new management, Messieurs Firmin and André.
I'm sure you've read of their recent fortune amassed in the junk business.
Scrap metal. Actually.
That's really not funny. Through the rehearsal and some awkward exposition, we're introduced to the rest of our main players. The now young and poofy-haired Raoul, Raoul's childhood sweetheart, Christine, her BFF Meg, Meg's mother, Madame Giry, the prima donna Carlotta, Bouquet the redshirt stagehand, Piangi the redshirt tenor, and... Piangi's dwarf stunt double? Oh, and the mysterious opera ghost who goes about dropping drops on people, and whose mischief sends the tempestuous Carlotta storming off in a hissy fit.
These things do happen. Until you stop these things from happening, this thing does not happen.
Damn, where does Minnie Driver think Carlotta's from? Northwest Side Story? Not that she's alone in the dumb dialect department.
His salary!
What? Monsieur Lefebvre used to give him 20,000 francs a month?
I'm French! Why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly king?
With Carlotta and her incomprehensible accent out of the picture, the managers need to find a new star for tonight's show, fast. Hey, why not let seemingly ordinary chorus girl Christine Daae have a shot?
Oh, she's very pretty.
Think of me fondly when we've said goodbye.
Okay, a bit of a weak start, but I'm sure that's just to build dramatic tension.
We never said our love was evergreen or as unchanging as the sea.
Oh, that's as good as she gets, huh? Well, let's introduce Emmy Rossum as Christine as sin number 1. I'm sure landing such a plum role at the age of 18 was a high point in Rossum's career, but every song just shows how out of her depth she is. It's not so much that her voice is terrible. It's okay if you're looking for someone to play Liesel in your high school production of The Sound of Music. But Christine is supposed to be this great singing prodigy, and Rossum's voice doesn't cut it. It's underdeveloped, unsupported, and weak on the high end. This is not the voice of someone who would take the opera world by storm and drive men to obsession. Hell, in an era before microphones, it wouldn't even carry past the orchestra pit. What? What? Rossum also doesn't bring much personality to the role. And while it's true the musical doesn't give her much to work with, it is possible to play Christine with vibrancy, passion, and energy, rather than just wandering through the part with a blank look on your face, in spite of the precedent for it. Christine's debut is improbably a big success, and after the performance her BFF Meg finds her and asks her how she got to be such a super special snowflake.
When my father lay dying, he told me I would be protected by an angel. An angel of music.
Christine, do you believe? Do you think the spirit of your father's coaching you?
Who else, Meg?
That's nice, Christine. I have to go not be near your crazy right now. Raoul is also impressed with the girl he recognizes as his old crush, so he seeks her out for some reminiscing in her dressing room.
Little Lottie, let her mind wander. Little Lottie thought...
Wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to sing that part?
Little Lottie, let her mind wander.
That's what I thought. Speaking the lyrics, sin number 2. The more I see of this movie, the more I'm convinced Schumacher just isn't comfortable with the fact that people in a musical, sing. This is one of the ways he tries to deal with it, and it's really awkward. Charles Hart's lyrics just weren't meant to be spoken. It makes the actors sound constrained and unnatural. Emmy Rossum in particular sounds like she's reading from a children's book.
What I love best, Lottie said, is when I'm asleep in my bed.
And then little Lottie said, "Someone's been spying on me through my mirror." Raoul invites Christine to supper, making light of her insistence that her mysterious tutor would not approve of such things. And sure enough, no sooner does he leave than Christine hears the magnificent, masterful tones of her angel of music.
Insolent boy, this slave of fashion.
Sweet Lucifer, is somebody torturing a buffalo with laryngitis out there? Oh, my mistake. That would be the arrival of sin number 3, Gerard Butler as the Phantom. Phantom of the Opera tends to live and die by its title role, and casting Butler in the part is the equivalent of taking this movie out to a nice quiet spot in the backyard with a shotgun. To begin with, he can't sing. This ranks alongside Pierce Brosnan and Lucille Ball as one of the worst vocal performances I've ever heard. And it's doubly awful because, like Christine, the Phantom is a character defined by his extraordinary musical talent. I hear this, and I think Christine looks dazed not because she's captivated by the hypnotic beauty of his singing, but because her brain has shut down in self-defense. Also, for someone who's supposed to be this mysterious, terrifying creature, Butler just isn't. This is mainly the fault of Schumacher and Lloyd Webber, who are clearly trying to play up the Phantom as a romantic figure. And while the character does have an alluring quality to him, it's something that works best when it's offset by how creepy and dangerous he is at heart. He's kind of like a vampire in that respect. No, a real vampire. Better. Butler's Phantom is more like a Harlequin romance cover model. He struts around with his thick hair and half-open shirt and slightly broody expression. Easy on the eyes, accessible, and about as complex and interesting as mayonnaise. By trying to emphasize his sexiness, they take away what makes the Phantom so intriguing, which actually lessens his effectiveness as a romantic fantasy. So the Phantom brings Christine to his underground bachelor pad, where he proceeds to mangle his big solo Music of the Night. And that's quite enough of that torture. Christine faints next scene. The next morning, the monkey alarm clock wakes Christine up, and she finds the Phantom busy playing with his organ. You knew what I meant. Get your mind out of the gutter. And in one of the story's most memorable scenes, she sneaks up behind him.
Damn you!
Oh, come on, she was pawing at that thing for 10 seconds. Don't be yelling at her if you didn't want it taken off. After angsting about his face for a couple minutes, don't worry, we'll get to that. The Phantom takes Christine back topside, where he's pissed off just about everybody else in the cast by writing nasty letters to them. They wander around and sing about how pissed off they are for what feels like forever.
Far too many notes for my taste, and most of them about Christine. All we've heard since we came is Miss Daae's name.
Seems the Phantom wants Christine to star in the opera's next production, or else, which he demonstrates by playing with dolls. No, I'm sorry, I refuse to be intimidated by any character with a Barbie dream opera playset.
Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good!
But the managers cast Carlotta instead because I'm not really sure why. The lyrics seem to indicate Carlotta's a big star and more popular than Christine, but Schumacher goes to great lengths to indicate everybody likes Christine more.
Would you please give this to Miss Daae?
The audience loves her, their big patron loves her, the insane extortionist in the cellars loves her, so why not just cast Christine and make everybody happy? Makes no sense. And everybody sings commentary on these latest developments, accompanied by walking, and more walking, and more walking. Remember when I said Schumacher doesn't seem comfortable with people singing in a musical? Sin number 4 is a huge reason for that impression. He has no idea how to stage a song effectively. When people sing in this movie, which is nearly constantly, one of two things tend to happen. They stand around aimlessly,
Don't think about the way things might have been.
or they wander around aimlessly.
Your sunshine alive, you'll sing again.
Songs in musicals are not just songs. They're arguments, or confessions, or mental breakdowns. They're an insight into the character's deepest thoughts and feelings. Schumacher isn't interested in exploring the characters through the songs, treating them instead as a series of lavish music videos. It's true, Phantom has always been more style than substance, but good directors can find emotional and dramatic truth even in superficial material. Schumacher doesn't even try, and in his hands the musical never rises above the empty spectacle its critics have always dismissed it as. The evening's performance goes on with Carlotta in the lead, and it starts off well enough.
Nothing like that ever happened to us in the junk business.
Scrap metal.
That's even more not funny the second time. But sure enough, the Phantom not so subtly mucks about with Carlotta's throat spray, making her voice give out. And he goes ahead and kills the red shirt stagehand for good measure. Horrified, or maybe stumped by a very hard math problem, Christine flees with Raoul to the opera's rooftop, where they confess bland, pretty love to one another.